Hi guys, Shroomy Sean here. Sean with Enlightened Servicing. I've got a couple of channels. What I'm talking to you today about is basically everything. I made my other video, Everything I Can Explain, talking about how God fell asleep in the beginning, came down and had children, and gave the children free will and time so that they could figure themselves out and find their way home to him. But something has occurred to me that there's something wrong. And originally, it would be better actually to start with the beginning. So, modern scripture has Adam and Eve as first, right? And that actually has been, that's the same story that has been told throughout all time, even before the Bible. There was two first. And what that is basically in the beginning, when God came to the world, there were already humans here. And that concept is seen in the Adam and Eve story, because Adam and Eve had Cain and Abel. Cain killed Abel and then went out and took a wife of his own. So that means that there had to already be humans in the world. So what I would like to postulate to you is that God entered a state of unconsciousness when he fell asleep. Now, the first God that came woke up in the world, understood himself, and knew that he had children, and knew that he loved his children no matter what, and unconditionally. And he knew that if he told them what to think, then they'd just become robots. And so that's why he gave them free will and time and said, go for it. Because he knew that eventually they'd figure it out. So this kind of like throws a wrench in the gears of all the organized religions, because it means that them trying to tell you about God is them trying to enslave you. And so originally, and I think it's said, the God of the Old Testament was actually the devil, because it doesn't make sense to give us free will and then the power to choose for ourselves what we do, and then come tell us what we should and should not do. That doesn't make any sense at all. It's totally backwards. So that's the beginning. So when in the beginning God was everything, and this is in my other video, and he's like, oh man, this is awesome, but I sure would like somebody to share this with. And so he's like, okay, I'm going to go to sleep, and I'm going to go down into this other dimension down here, and I'm going to create children who can prove themselves worthy of being here in heaven with me. So that's ultimately the goal of life, is proving ourselves worthy. Now, how do we do that? That's really the biggest question. And so this was actually revealed to me when I had my near-death experience motorcycle accident. I was driving down the road on a Friday night. It was in the evening. I had just got off work, and I was riding down the road, and a guy pulled out in front of me on in an Olds Delta 88, and I dropped my bike and slid up into the car and went face first into the wheel at about 35 miles an hour. And I had a hole in one of my intestines and a scrape on my spleen, and I was dying. I was really dying, and like really, really dying. Like, you don't live with internal bleeding. That shit don't fix itself. Excuse my language. So I get to the hospital, and long story short, I'm wheeled into surgery, and during that operation, I found myself outside the world. in a state of in kind of a higher state beyond the world. So when I got there, I knew that I had not yet done what I came into the world to do. And I said, nope, I'm not ready yet. There's still something I want to do. And as soon as I came to that conclusion, I came back into my body in the hospital. And the hospital room just kind of came around me. And then all the pain set in. That sucked. And it was on the road to recovery. So that gets me back to the whole letting go thing. Like, you can die at any time. Death can come for you at any time. And it's all up to you to be ready for it or not. Now, when I came back, I still didn't really know what my soul needed. You know, I still didn't really know what I was here to do, but I knew that I had a chance to do that. And so it's hard to explain the nature of the soul in man, but I can tell you that God is real, that science can already see God. They just don't know what it is that they're looking at. If you magnify anything times 500 or 500,000 or a million times, you're going to get down to molecular level. And then at that point, you're going to see atoms and neutrons and protons and all of these things. And you'll realize that all of that stuff is moving. And because it's all moving, the next jump is to say, well, if that's all moving, then there's an energy field invisible to us that flows through the entire universe. And it flows through us. And it flows through it's the source of life. And once you realize that, you'll realize that you're a part of it. And that ever since the beginning, when God created Adam and Eve, he's been trying to figure out what to say to them. Because ultimately, we can't hope to be told what to think. So God came into the world, had his children, knew through the act of having children that he was unconditional love, and he was one with that. And he knew that once Adam and Eve got done doing what they were doing, they would eventually tire of the world and come home to him. Now, my experience showed me that when... There's a dog barking. My experience showed me that when it comes time for you to leave the world, if you don't want to go, you won't go. If you don't want to go, you'll come back to a corpse. And the real trick is being ready to go. Live right. Live right so that way when it's time for you to go, you can let this world go. Because this is a state of unconsciousness that we're in. Although most people can't, like, you tell that to people and they're like, yeah, right, whatever, crazy guy. And but that's inevitably the truth. And society has us all tricked into thinking that, you know, if we pursue a good education and we pursue a good job and we pursue all of these things, that we'll have this happiness, you know, that is out there for us. But once you've pursued that form of happiness for a while, you'll realize that it's just a carrot. It's just a carrot strapped to your back, causing you to work hard, you know, and really it's just it's an idea that enslaves us. And what truly has helped me understand this is entheogens like psilocybin. And after I came back to the hospital, I left where I came from. I went to Hawaii and I had myself some kids. I met a wonderful woman who has helped me transform myself. Her love has totally transformed me. It has shown me myself It has shown me the difference between conditional love and unconditional love, and it's helped me refine myself and know myself better. That's what her love has done for me. And I am going to be always supremely thankful, because I wasn't a very nice person. And I was very, very selfish, and she loved me anyway. And that's what unconditional love is. And when you realize that you've always had it your whole life, and you felt it when you held your child and they grabbed your thumb and they looked up at you, you know, with their eyes, and they're like, and it's such an amazing feeling, you know. It's like, I can't really explain how that feels to a person that doesn't have kids, because the love of the parent for their child is the strongest force in all creation. It's the source of true power and strength. And that's because God's love for us is unconditional. He loves us all that way. And he's just waiting for us. He's given us free will and time so that we can find our way out of here. And we've covered the world and our children. That part is done. Adam and Eve, their job is done. It's time to go home. It's time to wake up from this illusion of life that the society traps us into thinking that we're going to find happiness, because there is no happiness in this world. Money doesn't create happiness. An abundance of food doesn't create happiness. All kinds of sexual partners don't create happiness. Nothing in this world can give you true lasting happiness. There's only one thing, and that's to surrender yourself. That's to realize the unconditional love that has been in your life the whole time, and realize that you are that. You are a piece of that. And so when you know that, then you're ready. And you don't have to worry about death. Death is not the end. So had I not come back to my body, had the doctors not been able to fix my body, in that moment where I chose that I wasn't ready yet, I was judging myself that I was not ready for heaven. And I came back to get something that my soul needed. And what my soul needed was an experience of unconditional love. And if you're selfish, you're going to be blind to that. You're not going to see it. And you're going to look for unconditional love everywhere out in the world, but you're not going to find it in yourself. And because you don't find it in yourself, you can't find it out in the world. Because humans love conditionally. They love you as long as you say the right thing, do this, don't do that. That's human conditional love. And that's not real love. It's just selfishness. It's just control. And so once you understand that the reason that you have been placed into this world of selfishness and conditional love is so that you could see your opposite. This is a world ruled over by selfishness. The leaders that we have are the most selfish of all of the people. They have enslaved the children of humanity and have trapped them in a state of not finding what it is that they're looking for. And God hoped that Adam and Eve would find what they were looking for and find their way home to him. But he knew that it would have to be their own choice. He gave them free will so they could choose. And that's ultimately what it all comes down to, is we all have free will. We all have a choice to make. And most people pursue the worldly goals that society teaches us that that we need to be happy, and they do that for as long as they can. And you can live your whole lifetime and just keep on doing that and never find the happiness you seek, and always just keep surviving. And that's really what it all comes down to, is there's people in this world who have figured out that they can get from those people who are trapped in this state of looking for something they're not finding. And so I'm going to go ahead and wrap this up. I've been talking for a while. In the beginning, God fell asleep. That was the Big Bang. And when God fell asleep, he came his consciousness split into an unconscious consciousness and a conscious consciousness. And so his unconscious consciousness is where the world that we know is, and it's where his children are created. And the cycle of reincarnation is a cycle of becoming. And then we're meant to overcome the selfishness of the world. We're meant to detach and let go. And then once we do that, then we go into the conscious consciousness. Jesus referred to as the living one. And so it's really hard to explain, and I'll explain it every way I can, because there's something that I'm trying to tell you that can't be told to you. The reason for that is you're here to explore yourself. If I told you about it, then you didn't necessarily find it in yourself. So to be in this world is to be attached to this world for whatever our reason is. My attachment is I desire to help my wife and I desire to help my children. But I know that it's a fool's errand, and I know that it's ultimately futile, because we're all on our own journey. We're all on our own self-exploration, and no one can truly help you. If I were to give them a whole bunch of money, it would actually be harder for them, because once you have a whole bunch of money, then you have a really hard time finding people in your life that will love you unconditionally. And that's ultimately what you're looking for. You're looking for unconditional love. And in order to find it, you got to find it in yourself. You got to love everyone, even the conditional loving people. And that's what Jesus said when he said, love your enemy. Because unconditional love loves everyone. It doesn't leave anyone out. And God's love for us, all of his children, all of us, you, me, everyone. God loves us all, and he's waiting for us to come home. But we can't come home until we overcome our selfishness. Selfishness makes itself aware to the individual as attachment. Attachment, attachment, attachment. A lot of people call this ego, but you can overcome your ego. You can overcome your idea of worldly image. And once you stop protecting your worldly image, then you can really flow the truth. And you're really going to say the things that you need to say, because that's what you're here for. So best of luck to you guys. I'm going to take it easy, and I'll get back to you with another video later.